Welcome to the Psychology of Reading. Today we're going to explore current research on the longevity of multiple intelligence, MIs, in education. MIs apply to students, people at all levels of education. Doctoral, master's, endorsements, undergraduate students in K through 12. Maria Montessori also believed that the diagnosis of an individual's strengths from 0 to 7 are formative years would accelerate their learning once clearly defined and understood. For note-taking purposes today, we will discuss the following. 1. The diversity of the learner. 2. Learning theories. 3. Social and emotional theory. And 4. Application to you as a learner and an educator. The diversity of the learner is defined commonly by Howard Gardner as ethnicity, economic conditions, and gender. However, there are other issues of diversity such as the visual or auditory abilities, orality or literacy, or the disposition of the learner that can affect learning. In the psychology of reading, we are going to study the important aspects of visual, auditory, and the cognitive psychology of learning. An important aspect of considering the diversity of the learner is the ability for you as an educator and a learner to recognize that each person has several ways in which he or she learns best. The learning theory that has brought light to the way in which each person learns differently is multiple intelligence theory. This, Howard Gardner's theory, began with 7 MIs in the 1980s and evolved to 8 in 2006. Gardner suggested that the brain has many capacities for learning that he called intelligences. We're going to discuss briefly, because you are going to be familiarizing yourself with them, learning them, and applying them as we go through our conversation today. Linguistic is the heightened capacity for using words and language. Think of yourself as a linguistic person. Is articulation something that comes easily to you? Do you have the ability to find words and use them with ease? Mathematical and logical, the enhanced capacity for numerical or logical patterns. For me, mathematical was my greatest challenge. Recognized not in elementary school, not in middle school or high school, but in the first MI that I took in my first year of my graduate program, which led me to believe that I had a challenge, but that was something that I could work on. It didn't mean that it had to be something that I was not capable of doing. So now, identifying your strengths and your challenges. Are you thinking? Is it linguistic? Is it mathematical? Because I want you to highlight what you believe yours are, and then we will walk you through an online assessment today. The next was naturalistic, which becomes the capacity of understanding nature or biology. Is that you? Spatial. This becomes a heightened ability and manipulation of the visual and spatial. Bodily kinesthetic is the well-developed skill of physical movement. Is this something that is a strength in your life? Musical, the enhanced capacity to discern rhythm and patterns. My first degree was jazz saxophone. This was something that was definitely my strength. And how does that then filter in to your success in education? My continued studies in reading showed me that even though I was an oral learner, I could become a literate learner by applying myself in literacy and continued literacy and writing. Interpersonal is the heightened ability to understand and respond to others. How does this fit into your life? Intrapersonal is the understanding of one's own emotional strengths. The aforementioned intelligences are found in all of us. However, you typically will have two strengths. The enhanced abilities in each student enables you as a learner to understand, and you as an educator to assist the student or students in understanding their successes and ultimately their challenges. You are going to look at the theories of how students learn and how you learn. This is not a new phenomena. However, finding your strength and their strengths and identifying learning successes creates an effective result. According to research you will engage in during this lesson, readers and educators have experienced the value of Gardner's MI theory and continue to use it to help students and learners learn more effectively. Of course, theories of how students learn in multiple ways is something that you have become familiar with. A clear message regarding identifying the student's strengths and challenges will allow you to do a profile. I always told my students that you are surgeons in the classroom. It is your job to specifically diagnose not only yourself and how you learn, as an educator, what your strengths are. Also to diagnose your students. How do they learn? How are you going to specifically design differentiated instruction for their success? In addition, looking at a student's challenges and increase the academic content to enhance the challenges that a student is facing or may face. In the second part of the lesson today, after my lecture, you will have an online multiple intelligence assessment. You may have already done one. I have done multiple ones. In the multiple MIs that I have done, my two strengths will rise. My challenge with math remains. Statistics, I conquered. You can conquer your challenges. You just have to figure out a plan of how to be successful and help your students change their language. This is your strength. This is your challenge. How can we work together? A quantitative study was completed by Kagan in 2000. And in that study, two types of instruction were looked at. And I'm sure you're familiar with both of them and have used both of them. Direct instruction, referred to as DI, and multiple intelligence approaches, MI, when learning. So we looked at DI and MI. What Kagan found was that the MI approach made the curriculum comprehensible to more students. Thinking to yourself, why would that be? What is my strength? Where am I successful? Where are my frustrations? Go back to the theories. What did you highlight? Why do you believe you highlighted them? And which courses have you been successful in? Has foundation of educational research, a foundational class, is that difficult for you? Is writing and articulation a strength? Looking at your strengths, identifying where your challenges are, and setting up a plan for success. It is our job to motivate a student in the direction of learning understanding, not only for you as an educator, as a graduate student, but also as a teacher collaborating and facilitating learning in the classroom and with your peers. The third part of the lesson will be the reading of the research-based article, The Longevity of Multiple Intelligence Theory. For continued application with MIs, we will continue with the third lesson, which is your reading of the article. And then you will be asked to write a 2-page paper, double-spaced, written in APA style, with a minimum of 2 additional references regarding research on MIs. You will be asked to include your strengths and challenges in the paper and how this will affect your learning and you as an educator. Finally, there will be a discussion thread regarding our research, because we'll all be reading one article that is the same, but then we'll be reading other articles for the discussion thread, which will be very interesting to see what you find in your readings. And what I would like you to discuss is, as a learner, how are you going to, as a learner and as an educator, how are you going to enhance your educational experience as a result of what you have learned through this experience? And how will it enable you to design differentiated instruction for your students respectively? Given curriculum from your district, the abilities that you know your students have, the challenges that have been brought to the table, and the ability for you to design differentiated instruction. There will be an attachment to a writing rubric, which will explain how the writing will be assessed, your 2-page paper. Developing your writing skills as we progress is a valued entity of our success as a graduate student at Morningside College. We value the rigor and the ability for you to read, research, and communicate adequately through articulation and through writing. The 2-page paper will allow me to look at what you have read, what you have learned about yourself, and communicate that to me through your writing. I look forward to reading your papers and our discussion. Along the way, I will continue to discuss my strengths and challenges and how this knowledge has affected me as an educator, as a person, and as a collaborative individual in our department at Morningside College. Good luck, and we'll talk to you soon.